Hello, and welcome to MacYak episode 157 for February 24th, 2022. How the heck are y'all?
I'm
Good.
good.
Well, I've still got these bowel obstructions, but other than that, largely fine.
That's another show, Bruce. That's MacYak. You gotta wait your turn for that one.
Yeah, you ask the question, you got to be prepared for the answer.
Someone's
Who's got the
now.
police?
There's a car accident about 2 blocks away from me, and the fire department is literally right around the corner.
That sounds like fun.
Thought they were coming after you, Mike.
Only if I'm lucky.
So, I've been busy. I'll talk about some projects I've been working on. But what the heck have you been all working on? Let's start with Bruce.
I've been very busy, actually. Well, I mean, I think probably because we had last week off. There's 2 weeks worth of stuff going on. So, the one really awesome thing that happened recently to me is I managed to unlock my iPad Pro. So this was the iCloud locked little chappy here. I'm just going to grab him. Here he is. A little notification saying MacYak's on.
Nice.
So
I'm still so happy for you.
Yes,
I would like to know how you did that.
So it was a really interesting thing. So I had read somewhere that if you jailbroke a device like that, you could get around the iCloud lock, and but you just couldn't update it. And for what I had planned for this iPad Pro, I thought that's fine. But then I actually started searching around, and I don't know where I got this information from. I don't know if it's true or not, but I started visiting, like looking at videos, and they were pointing to fairly sus kind of software that I wasn't really prepared to install. Anyhow, one of them just sort of said, one of the things you can always try is to try and unlock the device rather than go through the iTunes option. I was like, oh, okay. So it came up with I went through the whole process of setting it up, and then it came up and said, device is locked. You need to unlock it. And then it gave a little option down the bottom. Use device passcode, which I hadn't tried before. So I pressed it, use device passcode, and then it just came up with the thing to type in a 6-digit number. So I just went 999999, enter, nothing. And then Jay just said, why are you starting at 9? Start at 1. I was like, okay, no worries. 11111. Okay, boom, unlocked. So that was it. And then I'm in a state of disbelief. You can actually watch this whole thing unravel in real time if you want to. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, so that was a really, really awesome, awesome thing. Now I've got this, iPad Pro. It's the Wi-Fi and cell version, 128 gigabytes of storage on it. So it is the absolute top spec one from the time. And so, yeah, I'm pretty pleased to have got that up and running. So, yeah, happy about that.
That's not true. They had a 256 gig one too.
Oh, they had a 256, almost the top spec one.
Close enough.
So I released a video which has nothing to do with tech or anything like that. It's about sort of punctuation and grammar, and it's a really interesting thing because I posted this video. I was trying out the whole YouTube Shorts, so it's 59 seconds long, and I posted it, and of course I get a lot of people going and saying, "Hey, this is funny soldering. What are you doing? This is crazy." I don't want to read this. I know the English language. What's all this about? But here's the interesting thing about it. Okay, so it's sitting at about, in terms of video performance, it's coming in about halfway, in terms of performance. So it's actually performing pretty well in terms of the standards of my videos. I got no problem there, but it has had more comments than any video I've posted in ages. So, I mean, seriously, if people want to just complain about how they don't like the video, just go for it. I'm loving the engagement.
Engagement's up.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then the other thing that I really need to mention, of course, is something a little spin-off group of us did relatively recently. A small gang of us and Ron from Ron's, what's his channel called?
Computer Videos.
Ron's Computer Videos, that's right. He joined us, and we recorded a little video, and we've got a new channel for it called the Macintosh Federation of Gamers. Macintosh Gaming Federation of Gamers.
We don't even know the name; it's too complex.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
point.
I'll post a link in the chat for when for anyone here who may not have seen it, have a look at it after the show. It's a little over an hour long. It's probably a little bit too long, but we really wanted to provide a thorough review. We were basically working our way through and reviewing some of the worst vintage Macintosh games ever released. So if you haven't checked it out, have a look at it. It was a lot of fun for us to make, and hope sort of it's a lot of fun for people to watch as well. We are planning more. There are more on the way. So yeah, hang on to your hats for that. So So anyhow, that's me for the last couple of weeks.
Code says Eric, so that's good.
Move on to someone else now.
All right, Mike, what have you been up to, or what? And if you don't have anything you were doing, what will you be doing this weekend?
I am going to be playing with my cat. She's cute and she's got really annoying claws. Oh yeah, I'm going to be taking my Saturn over to New Jersey.
There you go.
Assuming it doesn't blow up on the way. It turned over 220,000 miles today.
Or bottom out, right?
Oh, it can bottom out. Who cares about that? It's only suspension. I mean, it's 220,000 miles of suspension shot on the damn thing anyway.
So the reason Mike is going out there is there's the VCF East swap meet this Saturday, and that's.
I figured we were going to have a whole topic about that, but okay. So yes, we're going out. I'm going out to the VCF swap meet with Sean and from Action Retro and Steve from Mac 84, and I'm going to sell off a whole crap ton of stuff so I can buy slightly less of a metric crap ton of stuff.
It's an exchange of crap. That's all it is.
And then I'm going to stay at Steve's house, get attacked by rabbits, try to act like I'm a vegetarian, and go from there.
You'll get pooped on. Don't worry. We make sure that happens at this household.
So
yeah, the VCF event is this Saturday. So if anybody from here is in the local area, you'll see me and Mike trying to hawk our crap.
How much are you going to come home with?
Me or Steve?
Both of you.
It's Steve you need to worry about. See, the problem between me and Steve is one, I'm 3 hours away and I have limited space in my car. Steve is 20 minutes away and he drives a freaking minivan.
Well, so he can make multiple trips.
I'm going to try and load it up with crap to get rid of. So I have to get rid of the crap in order for me to take stuff home. That's going to be what.
Yeah. So I actually have, I'd say probably, I don't know. I'm going to say probably 70% of what I have is actually PC stuff. Yeah, all the stuff
That's Jay's line.
Most of the stuff I'm trying to 86 is mostly all PCs. There's a couple. I have an iMac G5. I have a busted iMac Core 2 Duo. Some other. There's universal parts that are universal between the two, but it's mostly Mac laptops, or PC laptops, PC towers that I don't want anymore. I actually have more room in my living room now than I think I've had in a year. After I got rid of a lot of this crap I've had building up here. Excellent. I will take pictures, and if I have some time, I will probably make a quick impromptu live stream off of my phone. So
we know exactly what's going to happen. Mike, Steve, and Sean are all going to park next to each other. Some shady 4 a.m. parking lot deal. They're going to swap a bunch of stuff out of the trunks, and that's it. Mm-hmm. They're going home with the car just as full as when they arrived.
So Steve's wife's going to be like, wait, you left with all this stuff and you come back with even more.
Come on, Steve has been married for a while. He knows to sneak that stuff in the house when she's away or sleeping. Right?
The problem is the van is already full of crap because a friend gave me stuff over the past weekend, and I haven't taken the crap out, so I have a lot of incentive to move.
Oh my God.
All right, Jay, what have you been up to?
Absolutely nothing. I was sick 2 weeks ago, got better for a few days, then the whole family got a stomach flu. We were down again, and I haven't done anything useful. Well, that's not true. Joe sent me his MacBook Air for repair. I did an epic board repair on it, recorded the whole thing while I was sick, felt pretty good about it. And then I looked at the footage and got so embarrassed that I trashed the whole thing. I was talking so much nonsense. No. It's like I was injected with some experimental drug, and I was just babbling.
So
nonsense.
you're not going to show it to us then, right?
It's already deleted. I made sure it's the light of day.
I know.
But I fixed it, so I did something, just nothing that I can show off.
Oh, that's messed up, man. He won't even show us, Steve, all right?
It's already gone. Yep.
All right, GT, what have you been up to?
Not much lately. I haven't gotten any new toys in lately, so basically it's been pretty dead the last couple of weeks. Haven't really done much anything, so that's it.
I finally got out a video that I've been tinkering around with for a while, and it's about video scalers and how to actually capture a decent VGA signal from your Mac or your PC and maintain the aspect ratio and get a nice 1080p output and all that stuff. So that's here
if I'm
today.
If I'm understanding it correctly, the video, I watched it. The most important thing is to have a scaler that's like worth like over $1,000. That's certainly the takeaway I got from it.
Well, the thing is, all right, these video scalers have been decommissioned years ago most of the time, because what these were in place for is they were in these businesses where laptops were pre-HDMI. You all had VGA. And so what these scalers were used for is converting a VGA signal and a composite signal to HDMI. So yes, the big rack mount scaler that I have is stupid priced, because anybody who's selling it these days, either they're not going to ask anything for it because it's an old piece of crap, or they're going to say, oh, that used to be the thing, and then they're going to put the price up. However, there's a happy medium, because you can get like the $20-$30 models that only have one input, but they still have a little menu on them. You can adjust the resolution. I know Bruce shared with me, as soon as I was sharing the preview for the he shared a little device that does similar stuff, but the caveat is it only does 720p output, which should be fine for most scenarios, but it also stretches the image. So, video scaler will preserve the aspect ratio and all that stuff, but you don't have to break the bank on them. There's a few ones that are on eBay for about $20, $30, like Justin is mentioning. Someone snagged that one already, but the thing is, you don't have to stick to that brand. There's plenty of them out there. And there are even some other devices that do a few different types of things that will scale the video. The problem is those cheapo VGA to HDMI ones, not the one Bruce shared, but the StarTech brands and a lot of those that I've tried. And I bought one back in 2018, which started this whole video that I finally got out, is they will just convert the resolution and the refresh rate from an analog to a digital signal, and it won't really help anything. So go check out the video if you want. And if you find a better solution, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to.
So that's what the video was. I thought it was about bunnies eating cables.
Oh, that explained why my VGA capture wasn't working for a while. Because
by the way, either your desk is really small in that video, or that bunny is ginormous.
They're big. They're quite big.
That's Gutsy, and she is huge.
She's a big girl.
Yeah. And so is her sister.
4 feet wide.
I have questions for you after the show, Steve. Not about the bunny, but about the scalers. So
yes, sir. Happy to help. And thank you for all the comments in the chat about the video. I'm glad to have get that out, because I got like 5 questions on Discord about that, like over the past 2 months. So, all right, cool. So let's see. Okay, so the next thing that we were talking about apparently is, I guess we could come back to it, but Mike left his live stream unattended for a while.
Oh yeah, we do need to
Bruce
talk about
and Jay
that.
had some shenanigans, but
and Dana.
And Dana. I was asleep. I missed it.
Pop a link into
He's
the
not
chat.
innocent just because he wasn't on camera, but he was there.
So it started with Mike fixing the Mac Mini. Now, my apologies. Did you fix the Mac Mini? I missed that bit.
Well, I don't know. Define fixed.
Well, the hardware was still messed up, but you got it working, right?
The machine works perfectly. It cruises along like a dual-core 2.5 gigahertz Core i5 with an SSD running Monterey and everything like that. But the LED on the front doesn't work. and my actual give a craps are like done.
Well, I guess that's
like,
really what it comes down to.
I'm actually
achieve
giving
the goals
of getting Monterey on the piece of junk.
No,
yeah.
Did you achieve the goals you set yourself in that video?
Sure.
I think you did.
Who's said gold. What the? What the frick are gold?
Mike said goals?
I turn the camera on, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, that's why I have a freaking cat in my arms right now. Do you think I came home and said, I want to stream with a bunch of guys tonight while I'm holding a freaking cat that's in her claws at me?
Yes.
No.
Well,
it just freaking happened.
probably yes, but you know.
So that link that Bruce put in the chat there, there's irreverent humor throughout the whole thing. So if that's not your sort of deal, whatever.
A little bit of dirty language from time to time.
It's a bunch of shenanigans.
It's on my channel, so you guys know what I talk like. You know how hard it is for me not to swear right now?
Yes.
So essentially,
You know.
Mike did what he wanted to do, and then at some point I joined the channel, and then and Jay joined the channel, and onto the stream there. We tried to get Dana to join, but he was already in bed, so he just joined via voice. So he's just like a voice in the background of it. Then Mike gets really, really tired, and he heads off to bed. So we then, the three of us, then stay up streaming for, I don't know, half an hour, maybe more.
Hour and a half, I think.
Hour and a half, yeah. Sort of
I
half.
think it's closer to 2 hours.
Oh, geez.
So anyhow, there was maybe a little bit of wine involved.
Yeah,
But,
Bruce was white. I can tell you right now, Bruce was white girl wasted. Okay. I mean,
it was barely affected me. Barely.
He was
affected me.
3 feet to the wind. I think Jay probably would have been too, but he ran out of alcohol.
Oh dear. We have a couple of clips. I think if people would like to.
No, I think Jay took them off of here. Oh wait, nope, they're on here actually.
Okay,
they all have the same thumbnail, so I don't know if it's going to work.
You wanted me to show these ones?
You don't know.
Here.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
All right,
Let's
here
have
we
a look
go.
at some.
Here we go.
Oh, my whole face hurts.
Next week on Gorby there. I almost made Bruce diddle over his new iPad.
Yeah. So just set up
Dana
with
was
that
the
one.
instigator of the whole damn thing.
What
by
did
the way.
Dana say? I couldn't even hear it.
He did a very quick little impression of Grudy, who is,
Oh.
hasn't been on the show the last couple of weeks, and one
I
of the
didn't catch
reasons
that.
is that he has been forgetting what day of the week it is. And so he then contacts us the following day and says, I'm not going to be on the show tonight, guys. It's like,
It's Friday.
and so he just said, I'm going to be on the show tonight, guys. He just did it in the way that he does. He does Grudy, and I had just taken a mouthful. So,
all right, ready for the next one?
yep.
Mark's song.
Should have known better.
Whatever happened to him, by the way?
Are there any actual lyrics, or is it just humming?
I don't know the words of
There's
that
lyrics.
song. I mean, I'm not a big Dick Marks fan, to be honest. But yeah.
Sorry, Mike. It just went from bad to much, much worse. That stupid giggling of that trumpet in the background, that was Dana.
Dana just kept going on.
If you want to watch the rest of that, go check out the link that
Oh, absolutely.
put in there. Give Mike some watch hours. So
Yeah.
Is this is this next clip the same or is this a different clip?
let's move on. They can
We'll-
watch the whole thing on the.
Yeah, they can watch the whole thing.
All
We
right.
don't want to take
All
away
right.
all the funny stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Let them want more. Come on, we're
All right.
here. So there's a security fix that Apple has put out for iOS and macOS. I assume Jay put this in here. Security conscious.
I did not.
So there's a fix for iOS 15 and whatever the heck version of macOS they're on Monterey. And it's fixes also a battery drain issue. So if you have new fancy things, you want to apply the latest security updates and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I think it was some kind of, as always, WebKit bug. And WebKit sucks. That's why everybody uses Firefox. But you don't really have much options on iOS. I mean, you have Firefox for iOS, but not a lot of people use it because it's not integrated in the system as well. So yeah, install and don't get hacked by Russia.
All right. So then the next thing we have is a. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done? Or
No, I was going to say, well, since we're talking about browsers, we can move over to the browser topic. I mean,
we have a browser topic.
yes,
we do indeed. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth one down.
Give me scroll. No, I'm going.
Yeah.
So we have a rare vintage Apple auction. There's a bunch of sealed items and collectibles and stuff like that. And there's an Apple 2 Plus, I think, and then there's a copy of Macworld signed by Steve Jobs. So I'm gonna do a share screen so you can see what the heck I'm blabbering on about. But essentially, if you have extremely deep pockets and you really have no way to spend your money, this is probably the way to do it.
Steve.
Yeah, okay. So you got a bunch of stuff here, and there's some weird things like a skeleton of a mouse or something. I don't know.
Skeleton. What?
I don't know. That's of a computer mouse. Reading is important, folks. Yeah. So if you're into that and you want to waste your money, go ahead and do that, or you could donate it to MacYak. That would be cool. So,
and by MacYak, they mean those guys.
Oh, they me directly.
Don't send any of that base crap to me.
I am Mr. Yak. So next thing we have to talk about, Bruce mentioned it a little bit, but I just want to also talk about the I'm gonna have to read the name because I will never get it right. The Macintosh Gaming Federation of Gamers. So the idea for this, Bruce touched on it a little bit, is that we wanted to do some streaming of games, and we wanted to think of a better platform to do it, because we could do like one of our live streams on our own channels, but we thought it'd be fun to do that. So what I want to say is if any games that are out there that people are finding, while they're playing around with their old Macs or anything, and they're really bad or they're really atrocious or they're just very weird, let us know on Discord. Put something in there on one of the chat channels for us to see, because we do have some Butte games that we're going to be looking at. There's a few volumes in particular. However, there's no shortage of treasures, I'm sure. And it just, I might not be familiar with it, or Bruce and I might not be familiar with it. But so let us know, or let Dana know. Dana just really wants to play those, especially in the chat. He's telling us to play. So I just wanted to say that, because there's going to be a lot of weird games and stuff out there that we just.
It's not going to be Unreal Tournament or Star Wars or whatever. Not any of the mainstream games that are actually that had a budget and got somewhat polished before they were released. No, we want the garbage. We want the worst of the worst, and review it, test it, have fun with it.
And if anyone is wondering what a cane toad is, you better go out and watch it.
Yeah, you got it. That's what you got to do. You got to. We had a lot of fun doing it. So.
Why do I never get invited to these kind of things?
Because you complain all the time.
Isn't that the whole point of the channel, is to complain about these games? I mean, you would think that I would fit in just perfectly on this channel. I don't fit in anywhere else. I mean, a channel where I can complain about crap. I mean, that's like right up my alley.
Complaining.
I wasn't even freaking invited.
It was a fairly organic process of getting the people involved. So my apologies, Mike.
We discussed this a number of times. You don't read the chat, so that's what happens.
Could you guys talk about crap?
You gotta wade through the crap to get to the good stuff, buddy.
I don't wade through crap.
And now you know why you weren't.
And we do.
Oh God.
We have nothing better to do, Mike. We're sorry.
So
this looks like we've talked about this before, about battery calibrations and such, but I was just curious because the topic is in here. I know Jay likes to calibrate batteries as well as anybody else does.
I recently received a iPad Mini, finally in the mail, after I won a giveaway months ago. But
hey, Sean still hasn't gotten his power book, so I don't want to hear any crap out of you.
I got it in the mail, and of course, I need to check the battery health in coconut battery, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So I started calibrating it, and I'm talking to Bruce. that prick that got a free iPad Pro. Small segue. While he is unlocking this sparkly, beautiful, I don't need to see it again.
I do.
So he's playing with that. He's like a little girl sitting there, all happy, and he's telling me, "No, no, no, it's an iCloud lock. You just go to the bottom, you press passcode." So I get all excited. I rip my office apart because I have a few iPads that are iCloud locked. Turns out that you only get the option he had on a certain version of iOS or iPadOS, which I didn't
Of
have.
course.
So I was severely bummed while he is sitting there giggling like a little girl, all happy. Anyway, he started calibrating the battery on his iPad Pro as well. And I was just wondering if anyone else has recently calibrated any batteries and has some success stories.
I have done that quite a few times on some of these old MacBook Pros that I get from the recycle that people think that they're bad because the batteries are just trash. And when I bring them in here and I'm like, oh, there's only like, maybe 30 or 40 cycles on the battery. So that meant it was plugged in pretty much its whole life. But like Jay said, you could pretty much bring those back to life. You just basically got to do the calibration. And if you go to houseofmoth.com, he actually has a pretty darn good write-up on how to do it.
It was pointed out to me that my article is severely lacking in the iOS department. So I need to update it.
Well, I mean, iOS is a little different because you can't really drain it as far as you can, like you can on a MacBook or something like that. But it's a little more difficult, I think, because once it gets to a certain point, you just can't turn it on no more. It just
Well, this is an interesting thing because, and this is some of the experimentation that I was doing with the Pro, and indeed what Jay was doing with his one as well. And that is that, obviously, you run it down, and then you get to the point where it just switches itself off, and then if you try and press the power button, it just comes up showing you the plug me in icon. So what I ended up doing, and again, this is from Jay's recommendation, I taped the button down. It's a little bit of sticky tape and taped the button down so that it was on permanently. And around about every 10 seconds, it would come up with that little plug me in thing. And I just left it going like that for hours and hours and hours, just going in, just continually bringing that up again, just trying to drain it more and more. Now, an interesting thing happened after a few hours. It then switched on. It came on, Apple logo, fired up, boots into the system, whatever, and comes up and says you've got like 7% battery left. And then it stays like that for a few seconds, and then it switches itself off. And then it goes back into the plug me in cycle. It goes through that again. And then all of a sudden, boom, it starts up again. And you just have to figure with that, it's still got power in there, you know what I mean? It's like if it's able to go in and go through that boot up process, it's it's still got some power in there, but it's very, very difficult. And of course, having said so, that once that was done, I then had all sorts of issues with then charging it as well. And to be honest, the calibration of this one hasn't gone particularly well. It's I if anything, it's gone backwards from where it was after about probably 5 cycles of calibration. So I might just need to get a new battery for it. Having said that, it still holds a charge for a good several hours. But yeah, it can make a difference, certainly.
So what you're saying is that for an iOS device, it's a lot different calibration wise than it would be for a MacBook or something like that.
For sure. Yeah.
On a properly calibrated battery, by the time you see 0%, and if you have a well calibrated battery, it will actually show you 0%, and that 0%, depending on the device, can last you like half an hour or longer.
Well, I mean, I've noticed that on a MacBook Pro where it'll go down to it'll get to 5%, and it'll be at 5% for 2 hours, and that's because it's not calibrated properly, of course.
Well, it's also on how fast it drains. Like on a MacBook Pro, I set it up, maximum brightness, play a full screen YouTube video. The battery runs down over a couple hours. Then when it gets to like 10%, I quit the browser, and the battery shoots up to 15% because suddenly it's not draining as fast, and it kind of recalculates. And when I'm not playing a video, you have more time and more percentage. and then you run it down to like 2%, you dim the screen all the way and let it run out, and then bam, you suddenly go back to 7%. So it's always recalculating.
Well, I noticed that most of the time when I do it on a MacBook Pro, especially, when it shuts itself down, because it'll get to the point where it'll like, oh, I'm going to shut myself down to prevent, losing data or whatnot. You'll see the little white light, especially on the older MacBooks. You'll see the little white light just on and off, because it's in sleep mode. And usually I have to wait till I see that light stop pulsing to know that it's completely dead.
And in case it hasn't been mentioned the last 20 times we talked about battery calibrations, it is possible to completely destroy a battery by trying to calibrate it. Make no mistake, it's not a magic, this is going to fix your 20-year-old iBook battery type deal. If a battery is well and truly messed up, it'll get worse or die completely. But for me, personally, I would say that's less than 2% of all the batteries I've ever calibrated. So for me, it's worth the risk.
The last time I calibrated a battery was the PowerBook 500 series. I used the intelligent battery.
How'd it go?
Going back. You used to have a little software that, didn't it, that you used to you launch on that? Yeah, that's right. And you had to put the battery in the right bay or something like that, I think.
Yeah, there's a procedure for getting that to work. And I think on the iOS side, I think they were, oh no, wait. For the clamshell iBook, I went through a process because I bought a battery and it turned out to be a piece of crap. The company, just went under and they weren't responding to any emails, or they were just scammers, whatever it was. And I tried to recalibrate that battery like crazy and nothing ever happened. And I think I did it with the PowerBook, but haven't had much of a need for the iOS stuff, but I just treat it like crap anyway. So.
Well, and like Jay was saying, it possibly could destroy a battery, but battery calibration is not to actually get more out of your battery. It's just basically to recalibrate the actual circuitry in the battery to tell the system how much power is left, because you're not ever going to the battery's never going to get more than what it can put out. I don't think it could, because once a battery starts deteriorating, there's no way to regenerate that lithium.
It's only ever happened to me once, and that's on my phone. When I got this out of the box, I did a calibration, and it's currently still, according to Coconut Battery, at 103.8% of the original capacity. So I actually increased the capacity a little bit.
Well, here's the thing, though, is I've done that on several of the brand new batteries that I bought for some of the MacBooks that I've had to replace batteries in. And it'll sit there and say, after I calibrate the first time, it'll say 105% or whatever. It's actually over what the actual, power is. But that starts going down after a while. You'll see that.
Well, I get what you're saying. It's not like, right now I get 2 days out of my phone, and after calibration, it's going to be 3 days.
But you're not adding more to the battery. It's just that now your calibration on your battery is telling the software, hey, now I have 103%. Not
it helps the reliability.
Yes,
like your Mac is not going to shut off when the battery is at 25% at random.
Exactly.
It's reliability, and if you are a nerd like us, you actually like doing it.
It's actually fun because it takes it to do a proper battery calibration. It will take you about a week or two.
Sometimes. I'm freaking weird like that because I make a sport out of anything. Like battery calibrations. Can I improve this? Like I get my water bill every 3 months. Like, ooh, let's see if next cycle I can do $10 better. So I save a little bit of water here and there. I do the same with energy when I get my energy bill and water.
Take a damn shower.
Everything. No, I don't shower, man.
He probably goes into the bathroom and says to his wife, "Okay, time's up. Turn the water off."
Yeah. Comes back with a big red mark on his
fingerprints. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun.
All right, cool. All right, so that's trials and tribulations of battery fun. It sounds like fun. We all learn how to battery once in a while.
It is fun.
Yeah, learn the battery.
So we have a topic about web browsers, what we prefer, and everything like that, and plugins and add-ons. I guess I'll start. Personally, I use Firefox. At a few times, I'll have to use something different, like Safari or Chrome or something, if a page isn't loading correctly, or if a plugin or an add-on is only available for one browser, or it's not behaving correctly in another. But I tend to stick with Firefox. I have had the least issues with that. For work, I've had to use Microsoft Edge for testing of things, and it's a Chrome based browser. What do you expect? But it's good to, if you're playing around with applications or you have to do that type of work, to test things in multiple browsers and this and that. But I haven't had real problem with Firefox. The only reason I don't use Safari is I'm on Mojave, so the version of Safari I have is so outdated that pages are starting to load a bit weird, or content is just not displaying as best it could. On the iPhone, I use Safari. I think I have Chrome or Firefox on there last I checked, but I don't often see the need to do that unless I'm trying to download something or the link isn't opening correctly or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just me. Mike, you appeared, so you go.
What are we talking about again?
What do you use?
What do I use? I use a Mac.
Browsers.
I have two of them right here. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. All right, Bruce.
I am still using Safari on the whole on my computer. That's largely habitual. When in the very early days of Safari, as Safari started to develop into a sort of a more well-rounded product, it was very, very fast in comparison to its competitors. So I just basically found the browsing experience a lot better than using something like Chrome or Firefox. That's remained fairly habitual for me. I tend to just continue using Safari. I use Chrome for things like StreamYard. There are some things that that might utilize, obviously something like this, which is allowing us to capture our video, allowing us to capture our microphones. There's a lot more going on than just web browsing with this, and they haven't gone to the trouble of going in and writing it for all different browsers. This is actually another thing which is really important, I think, to talk about with browsers, and that is that, part of the reason why the old Internet Explorer was such a pain in the backside was because of its lack of standardization, doing things the way Microsoft wanted to do them in their browser, and this sort of false idea that they would go in and set the standard and everyone would follow them, which of course is not what happened. There are standards out there. There are like HTML5 standards, and that in theory, all of these browsers should work exactly the same. You should never be in a situation where you are forced to go to another browser because it won't load properly on the first one. Now, that is either because one of the browser companies is not using the standard properly, or it's because someone has written code in a particular way and they're not properly tested it. And I get really frustrated with that.
Are you saying my code that works perfectly fine on Internet Explorer 6.0 will not work at all on Opera? Come on.
Well, it might. Who knows? But, and so, of course, when it comes to people's, one of the reasons why Safari is this is actually part of why this ended up in the topics tonight, is because Safari has recently lost its position, or is about to lose its position as the number 2 browser. And you sort of think, wow, that surprises me that, that Safari would be the number 2 browser. But that's because of how many iOS devices are out there at the moment. Of course, most of them are just using Safari because that's what's on there. And there are other options available on your phones, but most people, they just grab the phone and start browsing, it loads into Safari, and away you go. A little bit like the way it was with Microsoft Windows and Explorer back in the day. So anyhow, for me, I basically use Safari. I use Chrome for the things that Safari might have trouble with, and then when it comes to doing screen snaps or captures of a web page, I use Opera for that, because Opera has a brilliant save as PDF option for web pages. So yeah.
All right, what about you, GT?
Well, I use basically a combination between Firefox and Safari. I will not ever install Chrome on any of my computers. For a simple fact is that, one, they are a big memory hog. People actually, I've seen videos of people using them to open up so many browser tabs that they can crash their computer to see how many they can open up, because it just hogs memory. Plus the fact that Google likes to spy on you. So yeah, no. I use Firefox because, one, StreamYards will not work with Safari. It's just won't work. So you either need Chrome or Firefox. So that's why I use Firefox. But I prefer to use, and you guys might laugh at me this, but I prefer to use Safari over other things because of the keychain on that's built into Mac OS. It's much more secure when you're using a keychain than I think with Safari, or not Safari, but Firefox. So I think having your keychain on your computer and it goes over to my other computer. So when I log into my iCloud account, and I use Safari, everything that's on my Safari on this computer is also on my other computer. So I know you could do that with Firefox, but then you have to create a account with Firefox and stuff like that. And I just don't want to do that.
Yeah,
And that's a really good point, actually, with the synchronization between devices. That's another reason why I really quite like Safari.
Yeah, a lot of them. Not to take away from what you're saying, GT. I'm just. I learned recently that Microsoft Edge has a thing like that, and Firefox is a thing where if you create an account, you could sync the cookies, or not the cookies, but the bookmarks or history and stuff like that. I don't think it transfers the passwords, because when I did that, I did a sync, and I had to redo all the passwords.
I think. Well, I was going to say something, but if you're using a PC and you have a what do they call the Microsoft One? Whatever it is they have. Yes, if you have that, it's almost like the iCloud account on Apple products, but it's the whatever they call that. And if you have that account and you log into that, then when you log into another Windows PC, you can actually do the same thing, and all your bookmarks, everything, just like on Mac OS, it'll do the same thing.
I'm talking about the browser itself. So if you log into like Edge or Firefox itself, it'll just grab the bookmarks. Yeah, if you're talking about an OS level thing.
Yeah, but it does the password stuff too if you log in, just like you do iCloud. So,
all right, Jay, what about you?
I am Firefox all the way. There was a time where Safari was good. It was fast. It was responsive. You could actually install plugins like an ad blocker, social media tracking blocker, and all that stuff. But they locked down Safari so far that just became impossible to do. So I used Firefox when I could, but Firefox was slow. It was a hog, just like Chrome is now. Firefox used to be. And a few years ago, Firefox announced what they call it, Firefox Quantum, and that just changed the whole thing. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 16 windows open in Firefox right now in my dock, with on average 52 more tabs per window, and Firefox is barely using anything. It's amazing. I do have the Firefox sync account, so I can go on my phone and open the Firefox app and go through all my open tabs on the computer, which, of course, if I try to do that on my phone, it's going to melt down in my hand. So that's nice. I don't sync passwords because I have one password, and that is integrated everywhere, the password manager. But for browser, I'm currently, unfortunately, using Chrome because I cannot get StreamYard to work on anything else. So I have Chrome on here just for MacYak, basically. But everything else is pretty much Firefox. On the phone, yes, Safari is faster than Firefox. But if I'm on vacation, like, I know I have a tab open that has information I need now, I'll fire up the Firefox app. But,
so is StreamYard the only thing that won't work on your Firefox?
Yes, because my Firefox is loaded with add-ons and plugins and all kinds of customized stuff that I would have to disable to make this work, and I'm not going to do that.
So what were you saying? This Firefox Quantum, is that what you said?
Yeah, I think they kind of rebranded in 2018, and they just started using multiple CPUs much better, memory management improved.
Is this a separate download, or is it just if you just go and update your normal Firefox, are you going to get this Quantum thing?
Yeah, Quantum became the next Firefox, basically. I don't know if it's still in the name.
I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, they just went back to Firefox browser now. They
Okay, it
dropped
just
the
says
quantum bit.
Firefox browser.
I'm fine with that, man. Go on.
But yeah,
fact,
ever since then, it got so fast and so good that I just went back to it.
Apparently, there's an update because I have to restart to update Firefox. So,
So
Yeah, I know that at least a few years ago, before the Files app on iOS and stuff like that, if you wanted to download a file, you would have to use something like Chrome or something, because if you clicked on a link, Safari wouldn't know what to do with it. There wasn't like a good way to save files unless it was like a PDF. And still to this day, sometimes the request desktop button on Safari doesn't work as well as it does on Chrome or anything else. So there are some instances if you're visiting an old website or a website with a weird design and it's not as usable on a mobile device, you need to view the desktop view for whatever reason. There are edge cases where I'll use something other than Safari, but hopefully things continue to improve, and these browsers and the pages and all these new HTML and things and all that technology is more easily rendered, because
yeah,
it seems like the past, I don't know, maybe I'm just like thinking crazy, but the past like 10 years, the web obviously has changed so much, but I feel like ever since 5 years ago, video has become such a big thing, and now there's like motion and graphics on CSS and all this stuff. You scroll a page and the videos start playing in the background and things.
This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, when you look at like the old page computers that we use, and you open up one single JPEG file, and you're sitting there going, and you go onto a web page and it loads 100 JPEGs and a video and all this stuff, and it's just instantaneous. I mean, this is this is the kind of the direction of computing, with sort of having that sort of really fast interactive experience, I guess, on a web page.
Yeah. I'm glad there are as many browsers as there currently are. I probably don't even know of half of them, because the more the better. Keep each other busy, trying to outpace the other company or brand or whatever, making it better. Because we all remember the time where there was just Internet Explorer and Netscape.
Yeah,
and nothing ever improved. Like once every 2 years, you got an update that did something that didn't benefit you at all.
But I think, like Bruce was saying earlier, is that they need to make them where you make one web page and it will view on any browser.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, but it's the dream that I have. But yeah,
now there are a few websites that will always load like crap, whether you're using 10.4 Fox or the latest and greatest Safari. Mac84.net. Houseofmoss.com. Horrible. Frankus.
Recap-a-Mac?
No, that's not it. What is it? Recap-a-Mac.com. Horrible. Apple serial number info.com. I can't even. And, those are the websites that will always look horrible. Doesn't matter what you use. So just use whatever.
One thing I should also mention is someone, coming up from my perspective, wants something that's really, really important on a web browser are the developer tools. And a lot of people may not even know that they exist, but with browsers, if you go in and you kind of like right click on something on a page, that you can then bring up information of, what is actually making that thing appear on the page. What is it? Is it a div? Is it a paragraph? Is it, having a look at the styles that have been applied to it, that sort of stuff. Safari has these, but it doesn't have them switched on by default. You have to actually go into preferences and switch on the developer tools. And then once you've got that ability to right click on an object and then sort of go in and take a deeper look at what's going on. And that's something that is absolutely vital for the work that I do. It's absolutely and totally essential. And I mean, they're pretty much of a muchness, most of them, in terms of developer tools and what they offer. And so in that regard, I don't see a whole lot of difference between them for those sorts of tools. But they are, as I say, the main thing with Safari is you have to switch it on. But other than that, it has a full suite of developer tools there.
Yeah,
what I'll say is, if Netscape still existed, I'd be on Netscape.
Mm-hmm. Well, Firefox is sort of like the.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they become Firefox? Yeah.
I think that most of the old Netscape team kind of gravitated towards Firefox after.
I just miss the look and feel of Netscape. I love Netscape.
I'm sure they used to have a theme Firefox used to be big on themes. There used to be a theme that would make it look like Netscape. I don't know if they still do that, but big old buttons and everything.
Y'all
What I-
mingle amongst yourself. I'm going
What
to
I
check for themes.
what I miss is the little icon that would move while you were loading a page.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
was like, yeah.
It's just
You know,
or not.
one thing which I remember, and I'm sure when I mention this, there'll be plenty of other people, sort of that will remember this as well. When Netscape Navigator became Netscape Communicator, and then when you used to get that, and let's say you just loaded a new iOS on a computer or something, and you want to just go browse the web, and you'd open up Netscape Communicator, and you would have to go through this whole configuration process of setting up your email accounts, doing the whole thing. It would
And if
take
you didn't have an
ages.
email, there was not a cancel button. You had
That's right. You had to go through the whole thing just to visit a bloody web page for the first time. It was so frustrating, and it still gets me today every now and again when I go to an old computer and I put an old operating system on it or something like that, and I want to go browse the web, and I fire up Communicator. It's like, piss off! It's just so annoying.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's
Oh, man, Firefox themes suck. All they do is change your menu bar and put a Netscape logo in it.
I use
anyone-
dark mode, so it doesn't matter.
did we post that link into the chat just out of curiosity about the stats?
Uh-oh.
No, we did
But
not.
in there, if people want to have a look, it is very interesting to go in because there's a chart there that shows browser usage. You can actually go in and see the chart and see it. And it's just worth mentioning that, yes, while Safari may currently be in second place, the distance between 1 and 2 is massive. So Chrome has something like about 70% of the market share, and then all of the other ones make up the remaining 30%. It's the chasm between first and second place is just huge.
I would love to see that over time.
Yeah.
Oh, they have one over time. Here we go.
I like watching Internet Explorer do this. I love watching it go down like that. It's wonderful.
It's funny because Firefox, was number 2 for the longest time. And then, Google, around 2009, according to this chart, here, I'm going to share it because otherwise it's just me pointing at things and looking like up the ring.
Well, like Patrick was saying, he uses Safari exclusively on the Mac, and Windows he uses Firefox. Well, I think a lot of people use Edge to download Firefox, and that's the only thing they use Edge for.
On a Windows PC, you're 12 years out of date. But yeah. But yeah, it's interesting here. So you see Internet Explorer is the blue line there, and then it dips down, but you have Firefox, and that's dipping down, which surprises me.
Yeah.
And and you have
The gray line is Safari. Am I seeing that right?
this is
What's the green line?
that is Chrome.
Yeah.
God, why do people like to use that?
Well, you have to
If
understand.
you don't care about privacy, it's a fast and responsive browser.
Has it on all their Android devices and their Chromium laptops, and all.
That's actually one of the really important things. Is again, it comes down to, we've talked about this before with that. What do you call it? The ecosystem that you are in, and there are a lot of people locked into Chrome ecosystems with all sorts of things, around the house running Chrome devices and stuff like that. And so it's the obvious choice when you're integrating with an existing ecosystem. People just go with that option.
And I've heard things like, you may not think of it as Chrome, but your Android-based television or your Google Home thing or all those things, they run a variation of a browser, and they can identify as a browser if they wish. So you might not think of it, but a good percentage of TVs may have a browser that they're running, but it's all it is a splash screen.
And Thomas Armstrong even made a thing says some fridges use Chrome.
Yep. If you like your
My fridge just uses a buttload of power.
So that's interesting.
But one thing we might want to touch on just a little bit here is I know that there is a new Chrome, not Chrome, or is a Chrome operating system that you can actually run on your old Intel Macs. If you,
I thought we covered that.
I don't know if we did or not, but
No, I've seen some video titles pop up. I have not looked into it because I have zero desire.
I have zero desire too. But I'm just saying that's
pretty cool. It's kind of like Sorbet Leopard. You have another alternative, so it's nice if it really works that well.
Yeah, if your machine, like you could do the same with Ubuntu Linux or whatever,
Is it for PowerPC too, or just Intel?
I think it's
I think-
just for Intel.
just because that's the architecture they're putting it towards. But
Okay.
Well, that's because they're trying to get everybody to start. Because I think what the problem is now that Apple is switching to the M1 processors, the Apple Silicon, they're trying to sit there and say, hey, all these other people still have Intel Macs, and they're not going to be updating them anymore with the newest operating system. So let's see what we can put our foot in there,
It's the same thing for Windows. The latest Windows update, 11 or whatever, needs this trusted platform computing thing. And so, instead of updating to that, you could just install this Chromium thing on it for free, or the Chrome OS, whatever they're calling it these days.
Mhm.
And that is an option. It might not be the best option, but is it going to give you a web browser that's more up to date? Sure. I mean, I remember having the issues with my parents' old MacBook, and it was running Snow Leopard. They couldn't run Lion on it because it was a Core Duo or whatever it was. It was at its Max OS, and the newest browser we could get was through the Wine application, where you could bottle, the Windows or the Linux version of the app or whatever. And we were running a fairly recent version of Firefox because of that. And that
does not sound like a smooth experience.
It was not, but it was able to load things that the other pages wouldn't load because they stopped supporting new versions of the browser on that version of the Mac OS. So it's better than nothing, I suppose.
Can I just say one more thing about browsers in general?
Sure.
And that's good.
Another reason why I don't like Safari is because I tend to stick around on older versions of an operating system longer than most people.
Yeah.
And you cannot update your Safari when Apple stops developing that particular Mac OS. Safari updating just stops.
Yep.
And let's say that I use Safari. I love it. I have a tattoo on my butt that says Safari. I'm in love with it. It's the best browser ever. And suddenly I can't do my stuff anymore because I want to use Mojave, but Safari now sucks. So I didn't really want to get locked into a browser experience and start getting familiar with it and liking it if it's all going to fall apart 1 or 2 years down the road. And with Firefox and Chrome and Opera, and I'm sure there's others, that's not a concern. You can just keep updating the browser even though your operating system is older.
And that's what I think because there were some social media posts about Apple's QA team or Apple's Safari team saying, we're looking for honest feedback. Why aren't you using Safari? And I think Apple's mindset is they develop software for the latest generation of machines. They often don't look back. They haven't looked back at their products for some time. They do the minimum security updates. Sometimes they go above and beyond on that, but usually they don't. And so for them to be thinking, well, you just update to the latest OS, I can't, or I don't want to because it's going to break my scanner connectivity, my software that I use, this, that, etc. So I think they are overlooking that because they have updated Safari in the past. They would update Safari for there would be a version for Leopard and Tiger, or there'd be a version for something else. But they've stopped doing that, as Jay said. So they're only really focusing on the latest and greatest, and they might be security updates, but there aren't really usability updates of, it supports this new SVG format or this new CSS tag or whatever. And that's problematic. Obviously, if you're on an older machine, you can't update Safari, so you have to use something else. I think that's where they're losing the market. And they're going to pay for them to
And who wants to use a browser that can't load a PICT file? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's not going to. Apple's not going to spend money on updating a browser for an older OS. They're just not going to do that. So
and tagging on what you just said, Steve, is also, you may not want to update because it's going to break stuff that on your thing. But what happens if you have a computer like our Mac Pros that can actually run the newer operating systems, yet Apple decides, nope, we don't want you to run it, And that's another thing too, is Apple has cutoffs, on when they stop supporting certain hardware, and
free software has a price, and it is that they want to sell you hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point, Bruce, because ever since the Mac OS updates have been free, that is sort of been what's going on, and not to say that hasn't been going on the whole time, but anyway, I think.
Anywho. Yeah.
Yep.
So we do have our next topic, which is going to be about backing up stuff. and you've heard us talk about backing up things all the freaking time. But we're going to talk about it again because the reason that it's so important is you can never go back and say, "Oh, I wish I had this thing," and it's gone now. You can't snap your fingers, go back in time, and grab it. So there are a bunch of different strategies. GT's trying to pull something out of thin air.
Ain't working.
Yep. So what are your behaviors and what are your scenarios where you usually back up things to? What I mean, I use Backblaze for one. I also have Time Machine. I also burn Blu-ray discs of things that are large in size that I don't want to lose. I tend to duplicate data across multiple drives and clone them and stuff like that. But let's go around here, I guess.
Well,
And
the idea is that everybody, even if you say you don't, you do. Everybody knows you should back up. You need to have a strategy. You need to have multiple locations. All that stuff. We covered it. But there was a post on Facebook a few days ago that someone was using a time capsule and said, I don't get it. I'm backing up 2 MacBook Pros to that time capsule, and they are still backing up just fine today. But when I try to add a third, it won't do it. It says there's not enough space. Of course, the current MacBook Pros send a few megabytes here and there for changed files, and the new MacBook Pro tries to cram 128 gigs in there all at once, so it's not going to work. So this user did not know how Time Machine works. So that got me thinking, what are some of the different behaviors we can expect when using a time capsule or a tape drive or a zip disk?
it would help if I read the show notes. Sorry.
It's all right. I got you. So, this user experienced a particular behavior and didn't know they could encounter that. So I was wondering what other kind of weird behaviors are out there that one can expect when doing a backup a certain way.
I think
it's a very broad topic, but
No, that's a good one. The big one that I know we've experienced and Jay's experienced it is if you use a newer version of the Mac OS and you do a backup, and you go, you know what? Let me revert. If you try and revert to the older OS, you can't restore from a newer version of the Time Machine backup or whatever you're using because Apple's like, nah, it's not doesn't work that way, and it's really a pain in the butt. So whenever you're upgrading to a new version of the OS, you want to make sure you have like a cloned drive copy of all your important data. You might not need the OS and the applications, but your documents folder or stuff like that, you want to make sure it's copied.
Yeah, but if you have a clone, it would make it easier.
Steve, your live stream where you were archiving stuff, I only caught a glimpse of it, but you found 121 floppy disks with a system backup spread all over them or something?
It was one floppy, and the title, it was scribbled something. I couldn't read it on the label, but I put it in the machine, and it was the name of it was like 112 backup something, and I'm like, and it said Macintosh hard drive. So my thought process is that's like disk 1 out of 112. Which
you think someone actually did it?
What else are you supposed to do if you didn't have anything else?
So can I? This actually flows right into what I was going to talk about with this because I have recently started using Retrospect backup software in
Retrospect.
Yes, and when you're dealing with Retrospect, in actual fact, you can end up with hundreds of floppies over a very, very gradual amount of time. So you're not in a situation where you're just sitting there going one floppy after another. You may have gone in and backed it up and you may be using that same backup set for a very extended period of time. And then every now and again, it asks you to put in a new floppy and then you increase it that way. And this is actually one of the reasons. So Retrospect's been around for a really long time. And once upon a time, it was probably your only choice if you're really going to be doing serious backing up. And of course, back then you would be backing up on floppies or tapes. I'm even talking about, predating being able to burn onto CDs. So your options were to be backing up, probably onto floppies and tapes, and that'd be about it. Maybe then sort of later on into SideQuest or something like that. And of course, we're talking about small drives. And of course, Retrospect used to be able to run it from a server, and then you would put a little Retrospect client on every computer in an office. And as long as they're all networked, you could then go away and live in it. It would back up all of the data from those clients onto that server, then onto whatever device you were using for backup. And back then,
this is a cool system.
The media of choice was tape drives. That's what you would generally use back then, because they were, in terms of the amount of storage you got from the cost of a tape, that you were getting, you're going really, really good bang for buck. But I went to Retrospect after essentially getting very frustrated with the way Time Machine worked. And part of what we're talking about here, like, you'd be in a situation where you'd have a computer that's just been backing up, and then all of a sudden it just comes up and says it's run out of space. And you sort of think, well, the whole reason why I'm using Time Machine is so that you get rid of the old stuff and take the new stuff. But every now and again, if you had some really big files that were added or something like that, it just wouldn't be able to do it. It would just say, no, I can't do it. I can't back it up. I can't get rid of the old stuff. And that would be the end of that backup. You would essentially just have to erase and start again. I mean, there's no configurable controls, whereas Retrospect is far more configurable in that it works on a system of sources, rules, and then backup sets. And so the sources are, what are you actually backing up? And it's not, you don't just go this drive. You can go in and select a directory in that drive and call that a source. So I can have my computer here, and I can just say, okay, I'm going to back up that whole drive, but on this drive, all I want to do is just back up that directory, just maybe a user directory on that one, nothing else needed to back up on that one, and you can go in and select these very customizable sources. Then you can go in and apply rules to those sources. For example, don't back up anything with a .jpeg extension, or don't back up anything with a .mov extension, or whatever, or only back up files with this extension. So you get that real configurable control about exactly what gets backed up and what doesn't get backed up. And you can add as many rules as you want. You can go through and just build a massive stack of rules there for your backing up process. And then you go in and you create a media set, and that is essentially, where is the data going? And this is where Retrospect really comes into its own, because it allows you to choose whatever form of media you want, whether it be burning onto Blu-rays, burning onto DVDs, burning onto CDs, floppies, tapes, whatever. You go in and you say, okay, this is what I am going to use as my media. And when you go and do a backup, it'll go in and it'll burn to a disk, or it'll save to a sort of a tape drive or whatever. And then when that is full, it'll then eject it and say, you need to number this 36 or whatever. And then you put that in the file with the rest of them. And then if you ever need to do a restore, you get to browse through all the different versions of stuff. You can choose, you can say, I want to go in and I want to restore that file from that particular date, same as you do from, that other one, Time Machine. And then you say, okay, I want to restore that file. And then it'll say, okay, insert disk 21. And you put in disk 21 and it'll copy that file and restore it. So, and then, of course, the other thing you can do is, if you are backing up onto a device more like Time Machine, you can go in and say, no, this is a fixed drive. I've got no more drives. You've got to make it fit onto this. And then you can tell it, only keep 1 month's worth of data, or only keep 2 months worth of data. And as soon as it gets past 2 months old, it'll just erase it. So that's sort of what I'm using at the moment. So far, so good. I did run into some strife when I updated my internal hard drive recently, because I did a clone of the computer, and that really upset it. So I sort of cloned the drive across and then booted from the clone and turned that into my new drive. And then Retrospect got really upset with that, with backing up sort of that drive, because it got upset with the fact that I had cloned all this data. It was like it was not being fooled about that. But so anyhow, I just wanted to mention Retrospect. Retrospect does have a free version you can download. It is a complicated piece of software. There is a quick start guide sort of thing for Mac users, where on the Retrospect website, that will go in and actually explain all of these concepts and kind of get you up and running. For me, it was a pretty straightforward process, because I used to use Retrospect back in the 90s. So, and a lot of the concepts are still the same. But it is, as I say, if you are in this situation where you're using Time Machine, you're saying it's just not configurable enough for me. Oh, and of course, the other thing you can do is scheduling. So you can get it to back up every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every half an hour, every third Tuesday, whatever, you've got this incredible level of control about when it actually goes in and does a backup. And of course, if there are any problems with the backup, you can get it to send you an email and say, hey, we had this problem, your backup didn't get done. And of course, that's where it's really important with backups, getting alerted if something goes wrong. So
knowing it,
yeah. So there's a
very
free
comprehensive software.
Yeah,
I
there's a
have
free
fond
one you can
memories of
download
the
for-
software. I do not have fond memories of teaching all my clients on how to use it. Like, hey, all your backups are taken care of. You have one job. You see that hard drive dock over there? At the end of the day, you take out the drive, you put in the drive with this label, and you put that drive in a safe at home. And we learned very quickly, the company where I worked at, that after you do that initial training, you follow up every day for a month to make sure they actually get it, because no one did.
Yes.
So,
Yes, having the rotate, because that's the other thing is with retrospect, one of the things you can do is have a rotating backup, so you can have backup A and backup B, and as you know, Joe's saying, take backup B home, with backup A, and you do that rotation, so there's always an off-site one. These days, it's not as important with things like backplays around, but that is another thing you can do with retrospect. So.
yeah, and there are a lot of backup solutions out there. Excuse me. When you go out looking for a backup solution, whatever it is, if let's say you're not happy with Time Machine, you want something else, you have to do your homework to find out which solution is best for you. And the same way you do the homework for that, hopefully, you have to do the homework on how it actually works. Like the example I started off with, that's a specific behavior of Time Machine. That's the way it was built. It's, it's it's not a bug, it's a feature. So retrospect will have its own specific features that might act very strange for someone that's not aware of them. Carbon copy cloner, the same. ChronoSync, Super Duper, you name them, all of them have specific quirks that might have you realize that that's not the software for you. And hopefully you figure that out while you're testing it or doing your homework for it, and not when you're already backing up an entire office with that software. So, yeah.
And because another thing, one of the things, just following up what you're saying there, is you also have to think about like a restoration strategy. If you're in a situation where you say, yep, I've got all this data backed up, that's fantastic. Then you have a cataclysmic failure, and then you find out it's going to take 2 days to restore the data back onto it. And you can't be without, you're effectively offline for 2 days while you wait for this stuff to happen. These are things you need to consider as well. I mean, if you're in a situation where you need that stuff immediately accessible if there's some sort of failure, that's where you go with, like a drive cloning option, so that you've got that drive always. You've always got a second one where the data might only be, maybe you're only backing it up twice a day or something. So, there might be 4 hours worth, but, 4 or 8 hours worth of data not there. But if you've got the backup, a different sort of backup going for all that recent data, and then you've got your clone backup for the majority of your data, I found that can sort of often get you sorted out. I mean, I've had situations where I've had failures here with the drive, and I've been back up and running in minutes. And that's a really important thing you need to keep in mind. If well, I mean, this is why we do this stuff, because I can't afford to just be sitting around for 2 days doing nothing, waiting for a restore to run. Got to be able to, if there is a failure, got to be able to just sort of flick the switch and away you go.
That's why I have a second CMP sitting over here that's exactly the same as this one, pretty much.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of, and this is going slightly off topic, but that's what we do. Never been a fan of Time Capsule. Don't get me wrong, I love Time Machine. I think when Apple introduced that feature in Leopard, more people than ever before started using backups, which is great. And by all means, I hope they keep Time Machine in there forever, even though I'm not going to use it. But the Time Capsule, I've always had a problem with. People have these things running for years. And, these hard drives will have 40,000, 50,000 or more hours on it. And suddenly, poof, they fail. You do not have smart data, smart monitoring in a time capsule. It's not going to tell you like, hey, I just reallocated half your hard drive because it's about to burst.
Well,
pay
didn't
attention.
they have an issue with some of the drives where they would just kind of like just explode? Well, the head would just disintegrate.
Oh, yeah. The first 2 generations, 1 and 2 terabytes, they failed massively.
Yeah.
But here's one example, and I kept this aside because I knew this topic was coming up. 22 years ago, I backed up my entire Napster collection, actually LimeWire or whatever we had at the time, on this here CD. And yesterday I was like, hey, I have a song that I need, and I know exactly where it is. So I go and grab this disc and look.
Just rot.
It is gone forever. And this was like David Hasselhoff's original album or something. It's really important to me, and now it's gone.
So that song was on the edge of the disc, not.
Yep, that's exactly where it lived, and now it's gone. So test your backups, people. Is all I'm trying to say.
Because if I remember correctly, CDs and DVDs start from the inside, work their way out.
Not the point, GT.
Exactly. Jay's trying to.
Yeah, but his particular song was on the edge.
It filled the entire disc, so now it's corrupted. I can't get it back.
Oh, okay. So it's like one big file then. So yeah.
Well, David Hasselhoff is larger than life, you know.
Yeah, if you have any CDRs or DVDRs that you started burning 20 years ago or 15 years ago or 10 years ago, you want to go back and you want to look at those discs, see if they read, and if there's anything that's really precious to you, you want to copy them off and put them on something else, because despite the scratches and stuff that it may have gotten, the chemical breakdown of what those discs are made out of, especially if you were like me and you bought the cheapest ones because that's all you could afford, you're going to have a problem reading some of that data back. So just a heads up.
Adam makes a pretty good point here. He goes, his NAS acts as a network time machine drive. It's RAID, so it won't just fail like a time capsule, you know. So
RAID is not a backup.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. RAID gives you some protection of if one disk out of 4 fails, you can replace that disk and maintain the integrity of the volume. But yes, it is not the situation where you want to rely on just that, because while you're restoring that disk that had failed, your other disks their time could be up as well, and they could fail, and then you do not have an actual backup.
It also depends on what RAID striping you're using too.
But generally speaking, you want to have 2 copies of things. So whether it's one drive and then you clone it to another, okay, you have 2 copies of it. Or you have one drive and then you burn a bunch of Blu-rays or anything to it. That's another thing. So while RAID is helpful for being a bit more resilient as the storage mechanism for your data, I have a Synology NAS, and that has an amount of RAID on it, but I copy all those files off to an external drive. I have to do that because I haven't been able to play around with that stuff in a little bit, but that gives me a thing I have to do. So
I keep reading about, and I might be messing this up. It's either TrueNAS or OpenNAS, where you could just set up a computer and install this OS.
TrueNAS is pretty neat.
I was wrong twice.
Yeah. I have a PC desktop over there that I've been meaning to install it on it, but my purpose apparently doesn't fall within like the realm of what you would really use FreeNAS for. So I'm gonna
FreeNAS is gone. It's all TrueNAS now. I did get it right. Yes.
Oh, whatever. Anyway,
I want to play with that, but because I just built a 1.4 terabyte hard drive out of 8 old IDE hard drives, and I just don't think that's the way to go.
No,
it's something a little bit more reliable.
That sounds like my Apple RAID I have over here. My extra RAID.
Test your backups. Make sure that your valuable data is backed up, whether it's your family photos, your work documents, or something that you can't live without, or something related to your home business. You want to make sure that it's backed up either digitally or in print form. You don't want to be able to.
Yep. And if you have it on floppy, you send it to Steve, and he will archive it for you.
And of course, a really important thing, just to follow up, is that media, hard drive media is so cheap these days, and a backup doesn't need to be blazingly fast or anything. You can just go and get yourself a USB drive or something, and you can pay next to nothing for it. And, you can do a backup of your computer on location backup, of course.
Well,
but you can do a backup of your computer like really, really cheaply with just an additional hard drive. So,
just as an example, I just purchased a Western Digital Blue 4 terabyte drive, and it was like $65 on sale right now. That's not with my discount either. That's the sale price. So
why didn't you use your discount?
Because it's cheaper than my discount.
Oh, whoa!
It won't give me a discount because it's already below.
And a good thing too is to get one of those drives and back all your stuff up to it. And you want to clone that drive, and then you want to bring it to your friend's house or your parents' house. So you have an off-site, physical copy.
And you want to use Backblaze. And next week, Mike is going to spend 90 minutes talking about Backblaze, because in the short time he's been using it, he's actually used it more to recover files than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah, don't buy an OWC RAID and expect it to actually work.
I never would.
There's a reason why I bought those RAID enclosures and have not touched them. It's like, oops, never mind.
Yep. Now, before
that reminds me, I'll bring them to the swap meet and sell them.
Before we wrap this up, I just need to follow up something very quickly. I'm going to put a link here in the chat, just following up on what Jay was talking about before. Try and find a film from 1978 called Star Crash, with David Hasselhoff in it. Do yourself a favor. What a gem of a film that is. So.
And I do need to point out, we have Michael in the chat with his lovely username, 50 Shades of Beige. And there was a joke somewhere, whether it was on our texting chat or somewhere on Discord ages ago, where that was brought up. Oh, that's a great name for it. I'm so glad somebody got it. So well done. All right. So last but not least, I want to talk a bit about Marcintosh, because March is right around the corner. And so it's on Tuesday. Look at that. Someone could look at a calendar besides me, because I didn't.
No, it's in the notes.
Well, I didn't. But I only read the first 1 or 2 words, and the rest I just guess. That's what I do. But there was a kickoff Marcintosh video, and it's basically following everything that we set up last year. There's the Marcintosh website. There's a lot of details on there. There's a style guide. If you do not decide to do a video, if you want to do a blog post or something other than what will be in the YouTube playlist, the Marcintosh website will have a content list. Excuse me. So there'll be a lot of cool stuff there. So anybody is welcome to participate, as long as it's Macintosh related. You could do it for Marcintosh. The website has all the details there. I'm going to share that on the screen just very briefly, because it is a fun looking little vintagey website. There it is. And click allow and click share, and up there it is. Let me rearrange ourselves. There we go. So there's the Marcintosh website. You have all the details there, the do's and don'ts. There's the content list guide. There's welcome guide and style guide. So hop on to marcintosh.com to get yourself started, and hopefully you have some great content planned for next month. It'll be a lot of fun.
Indeedy. Now, I did want to just mention something really quickly. This is something that I wanted to put into the news, but I forgot to do it. And that was that Intel have recently responded to like M1. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but they are bringing out a new chip, which I think is coming out sometime in 2023, which is apparently going to be way, way, way more energy efficient. And they're saying that it is going to rival the performance of an M1 on a mobile device.
I think I read within 2 years, not next year.
Yeah, but. yeah. Was it okay within 2 years? Now, of course, that's all good and well, but of course, Apple have a very major head start on that one. It'll be interesting to see what Apple comes up with in the coming years. But it's I just thought it was interesting that while Intel was very, very quick to kind of criticize M1 in their early advertising, they are very clearly aiming for that same market, which is the long battery life, high performance on mobile devices, because, or sort of laptops and stuff like that, because that's what people want. That's what people are after.
You know what's funny about that, Bruce? And I talked to someone at work today about this. Is that because Samsung's coming out with a new phone tomorrow? I know everybody's probably heard of it and everything, but it's funny that when Apple does something, everyone else makes fun of it, but then they actually do the same thing that they made fun of. So Intel's no excuse on that one. Yeah.
It happens all the time.
On their laurels, and they were looking at performance and not efficiency, and now they're like, oh crap, we should have been focusing on that the entire time.
Well, I mean, AMD was caught them and actually surpassed them for a little bit there, and then Apple snuck up and took both of them out.
And you know what? It's good for competition, because the one thing that one company does is going to directly affect the other. Yeah. And if there's no competition, they just be like, yeah, well, it is what it is. You're going to get what you're going to get. So,
and if Intel release something good enough, Apple's going to swap back again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so, Bruce. I think
we'll celebrate.
It would be cool if they cram a bunch of those chips in the updated Mac Pro, though.
Just shove like full of it.
I just have this, this idea of the Mac Pro, which of course we're all so keen to see what Apple are going to do with the Pro computer in the future. Assuming, of course, they're not going to just keep releasing Intel versions of it, which I don't think they will. I just love this idea of having one of those with like 80 like M1Xs in it, or sort of a whole stack of them.
One is power efficient. 80 of them take like 5 kilowatts.
They'll put back the big plug from the G5.
Yes, remember that? I love. Someone posted the other day a picture of the back of a G5, going, "What sort of cable is this?"
It's the icon where the guy, it's just the closed eyes,
Yeah.
All right, so that's all the topics we had today. Does anybody want to add anything else as we wrap up here? Any exciting things? I have something to talk about for the weekend, but anybody else?
I've got a couple of things to mention, but I don't have to go first. If anyone else wants to go first, no.
I'm done.
Yeah, sure. It's I have so many plans. I've had plans for months, and nothing has happened. And I doubt anything will happen this weekend as well. So.
Excellent.
You're gonna fix your wife's brakes
if she lets me. Like she will. She trusts me completely when it comes to taking care of her kid, fixing her computer. Not so much with cleaning the house, but when it comes to the car, it's like, no, you're not touching it. So I'm still working on it.
Grudy's got some good tips on attaching brake calipers.
Go watch his Rutke Motors channel, or whatever the heck it's called.
He knows a good mechanic out here.
So I'll mention a couple of things here really quickly. So I didn't live stream last week because I was live streaming on someone else's channel. I don't know if anyone caught it, but Steve and I were guests on sort of Dan, the Canadian Computer Collector's channel. I'm just going to put a link in here to the video in case anyone saw it.
If you have not seen that, watch it. We had a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It really was. I mean, we just had such a giggle. Essentially, he was going through inventory, continuing his inventory. He's this is like the 6th one where he's basically just been inventorying his all of his vintage computer collection, and it was primarily beige stuff. So of course, and it was all of his compact Mac. So we were the perfect guests to have on that show, and we basically convinced him to open every single one. So there was none of this just copy down the serial number. That was like, yeah, okay, crank it open. Let's have a look inside. He nearly touched the flyback transformer on one of them, but he managed to stop that from happening. So
he would bring one out. He would bring it out, and it would be. Do I want to open this one? And Bruce and I are like, "Yep, we're not doing work."
So yeah, check it out if you haven't had a look. Canadian Computer Collector, and obviously go over there and visit, like, subscribe, all that stuff. It was a really good fun live stream to be part of.
The takeaway here is that if Steve and or Bruce ever offer to be on your channel, expect to get trolled hard.
I mean, you can watch him open him up in real time. So there you go. Now it's
yeah, that's right.
And
it was well done.
my house is haunted, but my ghost made an appearance in Dan's house.
Yes,
So
it
check
did.
that out.
Yes, check that out. It's about on a couple of hours in. Yeah, so but anyhow, I will be doing a live stream this weekend, so sort of back to business as usual.
Yay!
And I really need to do another shout out. I'm going to drop a link in here, ask people to go in, like and subscribe. This is Rudy's Retro Intel. I don't know if people have watched his stuff before. He's on the retro roundup thingy show that both Steve and I have been on, and so has
The
Crazy
name
Ken.
that Bruce can never remember.
Yeah, retro
Retro
repair roundup. Retro repair roundup.
Even
Yeah,
I
that's
know
it.
this. Come on.
So anyhow, needed to give a big shout out to Rudy, who had just sent the other day, and it's on the way to me, traveling in an airplane, an Apple IIe. So that's coming to me. There's a floppy drive and everything with it. So I'm really looking forward to. I'll be doing a video on that when it arrives. But just huge thank you to Rudy for sending that to me. So jump on there and have a look at his channel, give him a like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff, because that was just it's awesome. So
Cool.
That's it for me.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
There's
Sure.
a bunch of people that are going to VCF East this weekend. Is there a place or a website where people can? Because a lot of people will go for the machines and whatever, but I'm betting a lot of people will go there because they want to meet each other in person. So is there a place where people can kind of coordinate who's going on what day and stuff?
They do have a forum. They do have a Discord. I just want to correct Patrick. It is not a 3-day event like their actual events are, like VCF East and all that stuff. This is just the swap meet. So you'll see it just says February 26th. That's the only date that it is. So it's only on Saturday. So it's a one day thing. Trust me, if it was 3 days, I'd camp out there. But it's only
He would.
But if they do have a forum, they do have a Discord. So if one of those tickles your fancy there, you could go ahead and sign up and see who's going to be there. I will be there. Mike will be there. Sean of Action Retro will be there. Looks like a bunch of people in the chat are going to be there, so that'll be cool. The proper VCF East event, which is not the swap meet, the proper event is in April. So the swap meet is on Saturday. The proper 3-day long event. The first day is talks, but there is consignment, and the other 2 days are more of the normal type of event.
I'm going to try to make the April one.
Yeah, I hope we can. We could do our own swap of things that we've been.
I have a bunch of stuff, and you have a bunch of stuff that needs to get swapped.
I'll just show up and start knocking everything beige. Like, that sucks. That sucks.
Yes.
as he brings his beige stuff, you want to buy this?
Oh God, yes, that would be perfect. I can just dump it on the table there and run.
Do you have a wish list, Steve, for the?
Not necessarily. I was contacted by someone who I reached out to because they posted like, "Oh, I have this stuff. I don't know what to do with it," and they're in New York. And they posted that they'll be coming to VCF, but I don't know what to charge for this stuff. So we had a FaceTime call, and I looked at some of the stuff, and I called dibs on a few things and found homes for things virtually already through a few of us. But I'm just looking for weird stuff, weird Apple Talk adapters and peripherals and stuff like that, parts for machines. I don't need any real desktops or laptops or
Oh,
anything.
please. You're going to come home with video cameras, Polaroid cameras, weird cables, more beige than you can carry.
And CRTs. Masses and masses of CRTs.
When Ron was over, he knows exactly how much limited space is left on these shelves. So
you'll find more ways to cram
that's
more
never
stuff
stopped
in
you
there.
before, lack of space.
I have found ways, and those ways have been extinguished because there is literally no room on
But you'll find more. You'll figure it out.
I've tried. There is the attic, the garage, the basement. There is no room.
The car. You can keep stuff in the
The
car.
car has crap in it that I have to take inside. There is no room. When I tell you there's no room, trust
The
me.
living room, the bedroom.
The living
You
room
want
has
him to
two-
get killed, dude.
The living room has 2 iMac G3s in it, and the entrance to our home has 4 compact Macs in it. So, yeah.
Hey, Steve, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Honda Odyssey.
Don't
Enough
look
said.
in there.
I-
Don't look in there. You'll be
you-
disappointed.
You and I know exactly what that means, and we'll leave it for a mystery for everyone else.
And,
but
and I'll
that's
say
all
you'll be disappointed. There's already crap in there.
I knew it was only a matter of time.
I told you. There's no room.
I've got a car in the driveway at the moment, and it's not registered. I'm going to get it registered and sell it. But I've got a car in the drive at the moment, which has in it a 5500, 5 G4s, 2 G5s, an eMac, an iMac. It has just become, supplementary storage for all of the stuff. It's just like the back seat and the boot trunk are absolutely chockers full of vintage Macs. So.
Oh, I like Patrick's suggestion. Open up the rafters and beams, hang stuff from the ceiling. There you go. See, my wife would love that.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. I should also mention that my phone is ringing. I'll just mention very quickly. Steve was a guest on Ron's channel the other day. I'm just going to post a link into it, and that was a lot of fun as well. So it's actually filmed at Steve's place, but on Ron's channel. So check that out if
kind of
confusing,
right?
we flipped a coin to see who would stream to what. So.
Look at this. Look at the link. 68 Papa Docs. I don't know what that. That's. It's amazing when they spell something, isn't it?
6B, not 68.
Yeah, it's kind of like Archive 81.
6B Papa Docs.
Yeah. So I'll do my update, I guess. So Ron came over recently. We had a blast. We did some YouTube shorts together. I was wearing shorts. He wasn't, but I posted some. He posted some on his YouTube account. We did a live stream on his. So if you missed any of that, go back and watch it. He was a pleasure to hang out with. We had a lot of fun. We were just yakking for hours, and then we decided, we should probably film something. And of course, I'll be at the VCF event with Mike and Sean and a bunch of other folks. So if you are going to be there, just drop me a line on Discord or say hello. I'll probably be wearing my Mac 84 shirt or something like that. So you'll be like, oh, it's that guy, So there you go. But
yeah, because it's the shirt we'll recognize you from, not the
exactly
face, right?
No, you'd be surprised. At the VCF Midwest, I was talking to somebody for like a half hour, and I had the shirt on and everything, and then they walked away. They're like, "Oh, wait, you're the?" I'm like, "Yes, I told you like 20 minutes ago. You asked my email address." Anyway, anybody else?
Nope.
No, I think. Yeah.
All right.
Who's streaming after MacYak?
Bruce.
Okay.
So we do have a Discord. If you want to go in there and tell us, crummy games to play or anything like that, you know how to do that. Do what you have to do. You have to smash that like button. Do the thing.
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Make sure you subscribe to us. We only do a video once a week, so you're not going to get too many notifications. And we'll see you next week in March for Marchintosh.
Also, one other
and
thing.
Why the heck not?
Yeah.
So,
Take a different thing.
Think or different.
Bye.
All right. See you later, guys. Bye.
Adios.
I think it says end broadcast. We still got